spying on the American people.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Wednesday AM Mindful Storyteller Circle. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Today, we are talking about how to cultivate your authentic voice. How to cultivate your authentic voice. Whether you are writing as a person who journals, or you have other aspirations to write other things. You want to write books, articles, whether you want to blog, whether you write for social media, whatever it is that you want to do, writing in your own authentic voice and learning how to do that becomes really important. And that's really for a few different reasons that I want to be able to get into, and I wanted to be able to ask us a few questions this morning about cultivating your authentic voice that'll hopefully get us to think a little bit differently about what cultivating your authentic voice actually means. Good morning, Mr. Mila. Glad to see you. What cultivating your authentic voice actually means, so that hopefully we can all start to get to learn how to be able to do that for ourselves. And we can start getting used to learning how to be able to write in our authentic voice. I think that takes time. I don't know what, okay. I don't know why folks won't call me when they know me. They know I'm they know I'm online. Well, okay. Um, but yeah, I was saying it's important to learn how to be able to cultivate your own voice online, whether you're blogging or you're even just journaling for yourself, for several different reasons that I'll talk about today. But first, as we always do, we'll start off with just a short meditation. So what I like to be able to do is I cut off the video so that we can focus on our inner selves instead of focusing on what's on the screen. And you can just sort of sit where you are, get as comfortable as you can. You just want to be able to sit quietly and just sort of start to feel your shoulders drop to your side. And you can do this from your chair or wherever it is that you're most comfortable. You want to sit with your back straight as possible without being too uncomfortable for you. You can sit with your feet flat on the floor, or if you're able to, if that's more comfortable, you can also fold your legs in place as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale gently through the mouth. And you can keep your eyes closed during this process if that feels more comfortable for you, or just sort of lightly lower your gaze if that feels more comfortable to you as well. We'll start off by bringing awareness to the breath. Just start to feel the natural rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest. Feel the coolness of your breath as you inhale and the warmth as you exhale. And just for a moment, let's shift our focus to the sensations in your body. Feel the points of contact between your body and the surface beneath you, wherever it is that you're sitting. Just feel where the weight of your body is being supported. And as you continue to breathe, imagine in your head, if you can see roots start to extend from the base of your spine, reaching down towards the center of the earth. Visualize these roots just sort of slowly growing and expanding and anchoring you in space. And just start to notice the connection between your own body and the earth, grounding you in the present moment. And with each breath that you take in, if you can imagine just sort of drawing up this stabilizing energy from the earth through those roots that you grew from your spine. Feel the energy that's rising from through your body and giving you a sense of stability and strength. Let this energy fill you from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. If you start to notice there's any tension or discomfort in your body, I want you to bring your attention to it. And as you exhale, release any tension, letting it flow down through your roots into the earth. Inhale a sense of calm and relaxation. Exhale any stress or negativity. Then start to shift your focus to the sounds that are around you. There's sort of a gentle hum of the environment that's going on that's going on around you. And without any judgment, just start to observe the sounds as they come and go. Become aware of the sensations in your hands. Feel the warmth, the tingling, or any subtle vibrations. Bring your hands to your heart center, one on top of the other, and feel the connection and the warmth that's available to you in your hands. And as you breathe, imagine a ball of warm golden light forming in your chest. And this light represents love, compassion, and positive energy. With each breath, you can allow this light to expand, filling your entire body with warmth and positivity. So now just take a moment to express gratitude for this present moment, for the earth that is supporting you, and for the breath that sustains you. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, bringing your awareness back to the present moment. And just start to take a moment to notice how you are feeling. All right. Good morning, everybody. I see we have a few more people who joined us. Miss Carolyn, it's always good to see you. Cheryl, I see you. Miss Woods is also here. Welcome. So this morning we're talking about cultivating our authentic voice. Our authentic voice, whether you are more of a person that does journaling or you are a person, good morning, Miss Woods, I see you. Whether you want to, write books, articles. I know some of you are already authors, but writing in your authentic voice is always important. So that's what we're talking about today. Your authentic voice is important because it gives you an opportunity to offer your unique perspective to the world. And all of us bring a unique perspective, no matter who it is that you are, wherever it is that you come from. A lot of times we like to think that we have to be, somebody important, somebody with money, somebody who is already known in order to have a unique perspective. But really, if we think about it, we all have unique experiences that we all have while we're here on Earth. And I think it's a journaling or writing in general is really a great opportunity for us to be able to cultivate that authentic voice and our unique perspective so that we can share it with people. When you cultivate your authentic voice, it also helps you to develop a connection with your readers, even if the reader is only yourself. I know even through journaling on my own, I've learned how to have a stronger connection with myself. I've learned more about who I am as a person. And when you feel that way about yourself, it becomes much easier for you to be able to share that with other people who are reading your work. Let's see, understanding your authentic voice. Your authentic voice is really just your unique way, your unique way of expressing yourself. It's your unique style, your unique tone, your unique perspective. I think most of you, if not all of you, have some sort of like a traveling experience. Most of the people that I connect with on Facebook, and Facebook is really, at least at this present time, the only place that I share what it is that I'm doing in my life. And I share this circle with the people that I know on Facebook. And then I'll also post it on YouTube after we get done with the recording. But most of the women that connect to this circle are really tend to be travelers, Black women travelers. There are a few men and people of other groups as well who are connected, but they haven't really come to the circle. But most of you are travelers, or you live in international spaces, or you appreciate traveling in some way, shape, or form, even if you're just traveling where it is that you live. And so that's my unique perspective. If you hate traveling, you probably wouldn't want to, you probably wouldn't be connected to me anyway, because that's usually what it is that I'm talking about. It's the things that I learned while I'm traveling, and I'm able to connect with people on that. So even if you've never traveled before, you might aspire to be a traveler. And so I've known people over the years, since I've been traveling on a regular basis for the last 6 years, people who aspire to travel have connected to me, and then eventually they wind up going on their own little travel adventures as well. And so that's also really nice to be able to see. And people will tell me, oh, because you talked about, I had a woman who followed my travels in Cambodia. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And she just told me, she sent me a note. I didn't even know who she was, but she sent me a note saying, oh, I used to watch your travels. And so I just went to Cambodia and had a wonderful time. And you inspired me to be able to go there. So that's always a nice way to be able to connect with people who are watching you write about what it is that you're doing. And you never really know who it is that's watching. You may think that you put things on, Facebook or wherever it is that you decide that you want to share yourself on social media, and you think it's, just going to a few people, but it always goes much farther than you can ever imagine. So it's always nice to be able to experience that. And it also reflects your true self and your experiences. One of the reasons I like people who are trying to develop an audience on purpose for purposes of business, when they see some of my posts and they see so many people respond, they always want to come back and ask me, well, how do you get all of these people to respond to your posts? Well, for starters, I'm not necessarily always trying, I'm rarely ever trying to sell people on anything. I just write for the purpose of writing. I just write for the purpose of connection. And I think a lot of people forget that when they're writing. You have to be able to connect with people's hearts first before you can, start to sell them things that they may or may not need, which is really, that's a separate discussion in and of itself. But you need to be able to learn how to connect with people. And the way that you connect with people is developing your authentic voice. So being authentic is super important because people can detect who's honest in writing and who is not. You can read a post online and know when, people are just trying to sell you something, or they might be talking about an experience that they didn't really experience. They might be copying it from someplace else. When you are genuine, that genuine voice always resonates with people, and it starts to help to build trust and loyalty with an audience, and that's really super important. I think that for most of us, that is what we want. And even if you just want to be able to journal on with yourself, building that with yourself is important. You want to be able to have trust with yourself. So I have just 3 general questions that I like to be able. These are not necessarily the our journaling questions, but just a few things for us to be able to think about when we start thinking about building or cultivating our authentic voice. The first question that I think about is, who are you as a person? Do you know who you are? Do you like you? Do you like who you are? You got to like who you are in order to cultivate your authentic voice. I don't think I was always able to say that I liked myself. There were parts of myself I was so focused on the negative at one point in my life that it just becomes really difficult to be able to enjoy what it is that I want to be able to write, because you're always focused on the negative things. But who are you as a person? The second question I like to ask myself are, can you be honest with yourself? If you can't be honest with yourself, it's going to be very difficult to be honest with the people that you're writing for or writing to. And then the third question is, can you quiet your inner critic? Can you quiet your inner critic? Sometimes our inner critic speaks louder than the voice that we actually want to be able to speak with. And so if you don't like yourself, or you're having problems with learning how to like yourself, it becomes very difficult to be honest with what it is that you want to be able to say about yourself and your experiences. And then that inner critic becomes bigger. It takes over. And you start, editing yourself while writing, and you never really get what you want to say onto the paper. So that was basically what I had to be able to say. Basically, learning how to be able to write from your unique, your authentic perspective it takes time to be able to learn how to be able to do that. This is not something that you just, you just take a quick class and then you're just writing from that person. You're always learning how to write from your authentic your authentic voice, because that person is always being cultivated. As you learn and grow, that person that you write from is always learning and growing and changing as well. So the voice that you work with, that you're writing with, is always going to be growing and changing as well. And that's what really makes writing interesting. If you can go back to some of your old journals, or, I love the Facebook memories when they come up from like 5 years ago, and you see what you were thinking about, what was important to you back then. It's nice to be able to see how much you've grown in a matter of a few years, even if you weren't necessarily aware of the growth that was happening at that time. It's nice to see what you were thinking about back then and where you are in life now. So which is why I think writing is such a tremendous process, whether you do it for yourself or you're doing it for a public space. So that was basically what I had to be able to talk about today, as far as writing with an authentic voice. I don't know if anyone had anything that they wanted to share as far as writing with an authentic voice, or things that they thought about writing from your own authentic voice. You can just unmute yourself if you wanted to be able to say anything.
I'll share. I think one of the questions you asked, the last question about, can I quiet my inner critic?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard one for me. I tend to I know what I want to say. I want to know how I say it, but I want to know if I actually want to know the best way to say it that will be effective. And so I constantly go back over and say, that's not good. That's, I don't like how I said that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just takes me a while to get, to please myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I think that if I don't please myself, I'm not going to, what I'm writing isn't going to please the reader. So I'm learning how to just move through that, and then start reading things out aloud more often, to make sure that it sounds better to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a challenge. I like to be able to say that the first thing that's important is being able to express what I want to be able to say first, and then what I want to say will connect with the, wherever it lands is where it lands, basically. But that's difficult to do. Especially if, at least for myself, I'm a person who grew up having to check with everybody to make sure that what I'm saying was acceptable. And so even as an adult, I find myself reverting back to that first, which is why I think writing is such an empowering process. Learning how to be able to stand on what it is that you want to be able to say without any thought or concern to what other people, not purposely going out and trying to hurt people, but being able to stand on what it is that you want to be able to say without any thought to what other people think. That's such a growing up process that a lot of us miss out on, and why I think a lot of women in particular, at least for myself, I like to be able to I like saying that I was underdeveloped for a long time as an adult, because I was always waiting on other people to be able to prove what I had to say or like what I had to say or to co-sign on what it is that I had to say instead of just moving what it is on what it is that I wanted to be able to do.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Karen.
I can't help but go to plant medicine when I hear things. So pardon me while I share.
Please.
A rescue remedy is a 5-ingredient plant medicine. It's a flower essence from Dr. Edward Bach, created in the 1800s. And it helps with those types of emotional concerns. There is a whole system of plants in the form of flower essences that address specific personality traits. But Rescue Remedy is the one that everyone can take in general, that handles shock, terror, things, emotions that we don't even realize are affecting our ability to be authentic. Whatever trauma may have happened in our childhood or in the past or in the present. And it's a subtle thing. It is based with water. So even if you're on medications, you can use it without worry about contraindications. So, I just want to, and you don't even have to ingest it if you don't want to. You could rub it on your hands or spray it in your hair or do whatever it takes in order for it to get into your system and begin to work on your emotions that way. I suggest it because that's basically how I started healing my emotions. It's one thing to heal a sore on your body, but it's another thing to heal your emotions, because can you pick up your emotion and look at it?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a psychic endeavor. So I just wanted to share that particular bit of information with you.
Thank you. I've seen Rescue Remedy in stores before, but never really understood what it was or what the purpose of it was. So thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome. Yes, it works energetically and it comes in pasteles. Children can take it. They have some for pets. Yeah, so.
Mm.
Mhm.
And you said Kim asked where can you find it?
Oh, you can get it Whole Foods, Amazon, your neighborhood health food store. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's I'm trying to heighten people's awareness about it, because you know how different herbs go mainstream. Like at one point, everybody was taking chamomile. Now you don't even hear about chamomile that much anymore. You hear about other things. So they choose, or turmeric. That's the big thing now. Instead of looking at the body of plants and how they're used in different ways to help heal the body and the mind.
Is it a particular plant or is it like a mixture of plants?
It is 5 different ones. It's rock rose, which alleviates terror and panic. Impatience, to mollify irritation and impatience. Clematis, and Star of Bethlehem, to ease shock and trauma. And cherry plum, to calm irrational thoughts. Matter of fact, when I worked in the funeral home, I used it because, for grief, to address grief. For Star of Bethlehem was the main ingredient that I was looking for, but it also addressed those other emotions that come up, because impatience is certainly an emotion that death brings to the surface.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shell, did you want to say something?
It's hard to follow Miss Carolyn behind those nuggets that she just dropped. But
Dr. Madness.
But my professor was talking to us about, as people of color, that we often make our voices small because of like kind of, don't want to get too far deep into the weeds, because of colonization. So we oftentimes find that our authentic voices aren't the voice that we're taught in school, the voice that we're taught in English, because how we're taught is not like our language, right? So sometimes in order for you or us to learn like our authentic voices, we have to give up. He said it was like sometimes you have to give up all of the rules of writing and just be able to just write in however it comes out. Don't worry about if your I's are dotted or your T's are crossed, or even if it sounds appropriate in what will be the Queen's English, but just write with your feeling, just however you feel, without, don't change anything, don't edit, but just allow yourself to just freely to open up and to write, and you'll be surprised at what comes out. And that comes out during those moments is part of your authentic self, and that's how you learn to tap into or to reclaim. He calls it reclaiming your voice.
Mhm.
Part of that whole process of not just becoming authentic, but reclaiming your own personal voice before
Mhm.
we were taught what our voice should sound like.
Yeah, that's the whole process in and of itself. Learning how to decolonize who you are. And I even remember going through that in school, learning that the way that I spoke at home was not acceptable in school, or it was looked upon as weird. And so I just remember going through a process. Well, what am I supposed to be saying? Or and that just in my head, I was just really confused. And then when I would ask my parents, they didn't really have an answer either. They were like, I don't know what to tell, because I went to school with a lot of white students, at least in elementary school. And that was a very jarring process, because they let me know that I was the only Black student. So I was the only Black student there. And that I was not accepted or acceptable. Like, even like they would criticize the way that I would eat fries, because I would eat French fries with my fingers. They said that it was not, it just wasn't appropriate. Like, what second grade? Like, how do you know that in the second grade that it's not appropriate? I've never even heard of that. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But just like learning how to be able to speak. And so as you grow up as an adult, you learn that you believe that you are not acceptable, that there's something that's wrong about you and you need to be fixed. And so, we have to unlearn that as we get older, and trying to be able to figure out who are you supposed to be when you go outside. That is such a process. It's so hard. And so you have all of these extra filters, that we are living with. And a lot of them, I'm sure I still have plenty of filters that I haven't even discovered that are there. And that's really the work of learning how to write in your authentic voice. You're always trying to figure out what it is, or who are you in this particular stage in life. So yeah, it's difficult. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm. Well, I hope you still eat your French fries with your fingers.
I do.
Me too.
I do. And you know what? I really learned when the first time I went to Africa. I was in my early 20s. I lived in Togo, in a really tiny village. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and watching people eat their food with their hands and their fingers. And I was like, oh, this is so cool to be able to watch people. They would eat from the same plate. So it would be like one big plate, one big bowl of food. And the whole family would gather around and they would just eat with their fingers. And it just wasn't, everybody had their own little section of the plate. But, it's a communal thing for people to be able to show up and eat. To eat with their fingers, and nothing is really thought of it. And to watch people just be so comfortable in who they are and their culture, it's really a beautiful thing to be able to experience. And so I'm always very thankful of my experience that I had when I was in Togo. I don't think I would have the life that I have now as a traveler had I not done that when I was younger.
Mm.
Being a Peace Corps volunteer really gave me the nerve to be able to travel on my own. Did anyone else want to say, share anything?
I wanted to say, I really liked your statement about being underdeveloped as an adult
Mhm.
at this stage. And from time to time, I feel that way. Like I haven't grown up yet. Or I haven't I guess it's I don't know what it is quite, but I feel like there's like I should know certain things at
Mhm.
this stage. But that's why I keep on wanting to learn. And so I guess that's a good thing, but at the same time, I feel like I should know a few things.
Mhm.
And I ask myself now, why don't I know that? I
Mhm.
always stop and say, why don't I know that? Or what? And 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 it comes to light when I am writing, trying to write something. And I have to go and refer to something. I'm writing a piece on well, it's a series of short stories
Mhm.
about just things, signs and signals that you might have, and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Like things that happen and you don't know why until maybe the future. It's almost magical.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking, oh, maybe this has to do with my original or the religion or spirituality that I don't know that my ancestors were a part of. And I need to do some research on that.
Mhm.
So yeah, because I would like, now what is that? What is that feeling? It's a little deeper than just saying, oh, I should know about it, but I feel like I should know more about other other religion and other practices, other spirituality instead of just Christianity so well,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So yeah. So that's what makes me, when you said that, I was like, wow, yeah, I feel that way. Um, Underdeveloped about certain things. And I
Mhm.
think that has to do with not being either exposed or not learning,
Mhm.
not learning on my own. So I have to learn now. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's a beautiful thing to, it gives you a reason to keep learning.
Mhm.
Because if you knew everything, how boring would that be? It's like, oh, I know that. I know. You got anything new? So it's that desire, that passion. There are things that and I understand that feeling now because when I studied acupuncture with my teacher Walter Bosk, I didn't know that he was part of the Young Lords, and I didn't know the Young Lords and the Black Panthers were responsible for bringing acupuncture to the Bronx. And I told him, I said, I feel so ashamed that I didn't know that part and I was alive. But then I thought about it. First of all, I was living in Jersey. So I wouldn't have been connected to what was going on in New York, especially for what was going on in New Jersey with me. So, you know, I consider it a blessing that I've lived long enough to actually meet one of the icons
Mhm.
of that era and actually learn the art from him and be able to greet him, kiss him, hug him, and continue to learn more. So it's about surrounding yourself with people people who know what you don't know. And that's how you accelerate the learning process,
Mhm.
you know?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yes. Let's,
That is important. One of the things that I always say that I feel like I missed out on, and for a lot of other women as well, there's no rites of passage for us
Mhm.
as women, and we have to sort of create that on our own. Because what I've learned is that for a lot of us, going to, you graduate from high school, you go to college, you may or may not get married. Some of us have had children. You just sort of accidentally fall into the next phase of life without any sort of real thought. Without any sort of real thought or planning. Why we got here, there's no modeling really. The models that you had were sort of dysfunctional before you, but you don't really, sometimes you don't even know that it was dysfunctional until you're doing it yourself. And you're just sort of accidentally moving through life until you get to a point where you're like, oh, wait a minute, all of this is dysfunctional. So now I got to pull all of this apart and find models of people that I actually want to model, so that I can live the life that I want to be able to live, something that feels a little bit more comfortable for me. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say, really. Miss Carolyn said yes, and what an accident. Carolyn, did you share the link that this is the Amazon link to the what is that, Rescue Remedy?
Yes, that's the lemon flavor. It comes in different flavors.
Oh.
I
So,
like the pasteles. The spray and the gum and all of that is fine, but I prefer the pasteles because I keep them by my bed and right before I go to sleep. I've been doing it for years, and I share it with my great grandson. He's 7 as well. When I shake the can, he comes running because I'm hoping to get him energetically prepared for what he has no idea is coming.
you're so lucky to have a grandmother like you.
Thank you. A lot of sacrifice went behind it, but it was worth it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm sure of it.
I'd like to ask a question, Carolyn. How long is there any limit of time that you can take the flower remedies?
No, that's
Okay.
what's so wonderful about it. I've been taking it for years,
And you can take them like on a daily basis?
daily basis. And I like taking them. I started taking them right before I went to work when I was working with some very difficult students. I
Mm,
did it to, you know, not have a knee-jerk reaction when they didn't do their homework or something, because that bothers me. It bothers me to see people choose to fail, you know.
mm, mhm.
So I had to work on myself. And then when I saw it started working, plus it also helps with childhood traumas. So when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, I got some stuff to fix back there that I don't have time to be sitting around thinking about. So if I could heal it energetically, let's go for it. And all those kinds of things that Halona describes, the restrictions and all. I grew up in a fanatically religious home, so I had to rip away all of who I was in order to become who I am. So there was a lot of construction work to do.
Mhm.
But now I just take it because sometimes I forget to take it, but other times, like if I had a busy day, a very exciting day, you know those days you have, and then you keep reliving it because it was so good, but you need to go to sleep because you have another exciting day the next day. I take it to just sort of calm myself down and, you know, not that it works like a sleeping pill or anything. It doesn't do
Mhm.
that, but it just helps your meditative state. It supports your meditative state. That's what I'll say.
Mhm. I'm glad that you mentioned it because I actually used to take Rescue Remedy. I used to carry it in my purse. And it's interesting how you just forget things. And not only Rescue Remedy, I had other flower essences that I used to use.
Mhm.
And I like totally forgot that whole, you know, that whole field of flower essences.
Well,
So,
the Flower Essence Society has continued his work. So now there are hundreds. I'll put the link in so all of you could just, you know, go through the list. And what it helps you do is be honest with yourself
mm.
without somebody telling you, you're so this, you're so that. You know how you are if you really think about it.
Mhm.
So there are flower essence tests online, and you take the test
Wow.
and it indicates to you which flower essences would be good for you. Like for COVID, when I had to go back to work, I didn't want, I was like, 6 feet isn't far enough, you know. And don't let somebody cough. You know, people were rolling their eyes at somebody. Now, how you roll your eyes because somebody coughed? They could have had a crumb lodged in their throat, but it was just that that fear. So
Yes.
I took holly, um, fear of the unknown, mustard to bring a feeling of joy into my heart, like being joyful from the inside, you know, and because I was working in a funeral home and people were dying and we were burying people, you know, and then even one of my coworkers died of COVID. So I had to keep a barrage of different flower essences on my shelf in order to just keep myself steady through horrific experiences that all of us were having.
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow.
So yeah, and it helped. It helped a lot.
Carolyn, do you have a website?
Behealed.info.
Okay.
Thank you for being interested because everywhere I go, I bring up flower essences to people because that's what in speaking about our cultural history, um, so we do have generational trauma
Mm-hmm.
and we forget that. And we have to work on that because it's affecting us in the present, in
Yes.
our communities and in our families and everything. So I see that as a tool for us to heal the world. Actually, if everybody took flower essences, it's a very effective plant medicine that can help people work on their issues individually, because that's the only way problems can be solved from the person, from the individual. And then it spreads outward.
So it's like benefiting from plant medicine without going to Peru.
Well, I'd go to Peru anyway.
For those of us who that
As a matter of fact, I travel with my rescue remedy wherever I am. I'm sitting up in Hawaii, I popped my rescue remedy. There was nothing stressful there, but you know, I want to heal. I want to heal. I want
yeah.
to heal what I can't see
Mm-hmm.
because we don't
Right. Right.
recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Miss Carolyn is definitely a wealth of resources. Do you sell your books online too?
Not online. I like to sign them So I send them, directly to the person.
Mhm.
They're online. I mean, the pick up your bed and walk is online, but I just like, I don't know. I like the personal part of it.
Yeah.
That's that old school in me.
You like to be able to build relationships with the people that you are offering information to.
Yes. Yes. Yes, very much so.
Mhm. I like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have a few journaling questions as we get to the last few minutes of the hour. So number one, what experiences have shaped your perspective and how can you integrate them into your writing?
Mm-hmm.
What experiences have shaped your perspective and how can you integrate them into your writing? I'm putting it into the chat so you can see it. Number two, how do your personal values and beliefs influence your writing style? How do your personal values and beliefs influence your writing style? And then number three, what topics are you most passionate about writing and why? So we still have a few minutes. If you can sort of choose whichever one you want to write about now over the next, we'll say 2 minutes. And then we'll do a final share before we close the circle. All right, does anyone want to share any sort of last thoughts about any of the questions before we close out the circle? I know I need to sit with question number 2 for myself. Your personal values and beliefs. I've only started to recently start to appreciate what your personal values and your beliefs and how much that actually shapes the people that you choose to hang around and all different types of relationships. And if I think about like romantic relationships or otherwise, we did not share the same values or beliefs at all. I'm like, why are we even talking to each other? Like, how did this even happen? But it was really because I was not aware of what my own personal values and beliefs were. So you really have to sit down and be purposeful. Like, what do you believe? What do you think? What's important to you? What do you value? You know, at least for myself, there's really just, I can't really think of a time when anybody really asked me, what do you think, Halona? You know, everything has always really been passed down as and labeled as, well, this is what it's supposed to be. And a lot of my family members still think that way. They, you know, they've never really asked themselves that question either. You know, which is how we all just sort of pass on dysfunction over the years because we never really think about those things. So even for myself, I have to think about question number 2. That's always something to be able to sort of sit and think about. So I'm going to personally do that myself. But anybody else want to share any last words? If not, thank you so much, ladies, for showing up today. It's the top of the hour. As always, I put this on YouTube. That's where you can find the replay. For those who are watching the replay, if you want to be able to join us live, you're more than welcome to. You can click on the link in the description, put in your email address, and you'll get all of my updates for what we're doing with the circle and other things that I will be doing as writing services to be able to support you in your writing projects. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all's participation and your thoughts. Thank you, Ms. Woods. Thank you, Ms. Carolyn. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today. Thank you, Ms. Carolyn, for sharing all that good information about the flower essences. We
You're
always
welcome.
appreciate your herbal wisdom.
You're welcome. Love y'all.
Love you too. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Okay.